This first story is entitled, "A Funny Thing Happened to Me on the Road to Hell." It was the summer of 2006. It was a busy day, a crazy day. I was running around. I knew I was going to have a busy day. Company was coming over. So I said, okay, I'm going to drink as much coffee as possible, and so I did. I went through a whole pot of coffee myself. Spent the rest of the day drinking Cokes. Company arrives. We're going to have game night. We're going to play. We're getting ready to have fun. And we decide we're going to order Chinese food. So, of course, what's better with Chinese food than MSG? I had the 3 C's hit me all in one shot. Coffee, Coke, Chinese. We're in the middle of a game, and I suddenly stop and say, okay, just give me a minute. And then I realize my heart's doing this. I can't slow my heart rate down. I walk into the, excuse myself, walk into the room, walk into the kitchen, open the freezer, stick my head in the freezer, trying to inhale all that cool air. I'm like, something's got to calm me back down. Something's got to calm my heart rate back down. No, not working. I walked back into the living room, said, I'm going to go lay down in the bedroom for a minute. And I actually said, do me a favor, you might have to call an ambulance. I went and laid down, and I said, okay, I'm going to lay down, I'm going to relax, I'm going to calm myself back down, I'll get my heart rate down. My heart rate wound up going down, but not quite the way I had planned. While I was laying there, I had a massive pain hit me in my chest, and everything went black. And while it was black, I felt myself floating. And as I'm floating up, everything is dark around me and I can see a light. There's a light ahead of me. It's not a tunnel, like people say. It was a cave that I wound up coming out into. Now, I'm not expecting to see a cave. I'm expecting to see my bedroom. So I was a little surprised by this, but there's stalactites, there's stalagmites. There's this massive arena of a cave around me. There's this small black stream trickling down into a very darkened lake. And at the base of this lake, there's a rowboat. In the rowboat, there's this old figure sitting in there, hunched over in a cowl, reading a National Geographic like this. Now, I'm assuming it was like the Dusky Women of Borneo episode, magazine, because he was very intently reading this magazine. And I was about to clear my throat and ask where the hell I was, and he looks up over his magazine at me and says, do you have the coins? Before I can respond, he looks at me and says, he throws the magazine down and says, fucking newbie. He says, you know what? Fuck off with the rest of them over at the bar. Bar? Cave? Fuck off? You? Okay. I look over to where he's motioning, and sure enough, there's this old, dilapidated bar. It looks like something right out of Brewster. Just kind of sitting out over there. And I kind of feel myself drawn towards it. And as I get there, I'm trying to read the sign above it. It's kind of messy. Something Hope Saloon. So I find myself going into this Hope Saloon. And immediately run into someone. I knock into this little old lady. She's about yay tall. Little brown skin, like a shrunken apple kind of face. She's got this little white, kind of mussed up outfit that she's wearing. And I had apparently hit into her fruity little drink that had all the little umbrellas on it, and I knocked it and spilled on her. She cursed me up one side and down the other. I said, I'm trying to apologize. I'm trying to think what to say. She looks at me and says, fucking newbie, I can't believe you watch where you're going. Just then, some other little old brown man, about yay tall, wire rimmed glasses, says, Teresa, don't worry about him. Come over this way to me and bring some pretzels while you're at it. She looks at me and she says, fuck it, newbie. Snatches a bowl full of pretzels out of some guy sitting at the bar and runs on off to join her little friend over there. I don't know what's going on. I'm in a bar full of crazy people. I don't know where I am. I don't know how I got there. But apparently I'm already on someone's shit list. Well, the fellow who's sitting at the bar, the one who had the pretzels taken from him, looks over and says, come and say, have a seat with me. Adolf, nice to meet you. He's this little short guy, black hair, little mustache, looks like Chaplin. I don't know who he reminded me of, someone. And he says, come have a drink. I have a few of them over here. He passes over one of his 3 drinks to me. He says, the schnapps, they're good. He says, so, tell me, Ruby, you have any Aryan blood in you? I look at him, it's like, oh, might be a little fair-haired, but, you know. He says, doesn't matter. He says, you want to avoid people like Teresa. There are some very unhelpful, unfriendly people in this place. Come sit with me. Go have a good time. I'm still about to ask him a few questions. He turns away from me and says, wait, Madeline Liebling, I'll be right back. He snatches up 2 of his drinks, runs off after some blonde chick, stacked, you know, who's off wandering up through over there. So I'm just left standing at the bar with schnapps that I don't really care for, and I don't know anyone. This little mousy brown-haired woman comes up to me. She says, excuse me, sir. I understand what it's like to be left alone. I understand what it's like to be sad. I'll be your friend. May I join you? So she comes and she sits at the bar next to me. And she says, I also know what it's like to be ostracized, to be kept away from those you love. I mean, my parents were the same way with me. They knew I was a bad girl. They knew that they had to discipline me to keep me in line, but that's not my fault. I mean, why would they leave a hatchet just lying around like that? She said, well, excuse me, I have to go. And she runs off with my glass of schnapps, as a matter of fact. I feel a poke in my back. It's the bartender, who's now coming over to me. Little Irish guy, white hair, broken capillaries in the nose. Obviously, he's a good bartender. He says, buddy, listen, I see you're new here. My name's Tip. Welcome. He says, let me make you up some drinks over here, but drinks are on the house, but you've got to order 2 at a time because it's a very busy place, as you can tell. And the more I look around, the more I see that the place is packed with the weirdest collection of people you could ever possibly imagine. So I say, okay. He says, listen, he says, keep away from Lizzie, though. She's not the best woman to hang around with. So I say, okay. So he mix up these drinks. He says, here, zombies. Strong, good ones. And with this crowd, it's perfect. Yeah. So I'm sitting there with 2 drinks in my hand. Tip runs back to the other end of the bar helping other people. And I decide I probably should just walk around and just take the lay of the land. So I start walking around. And I notice that there's people that are rushing back and forth. Everyone's always running. They're always rushing. They're going back to the bar. They're going to different crowds of each other. One thing I notice, no one heads towards the front door. Okay. But I'm meeting, I was just having this conversation with this guy who was telling about the downfall of society and the reason why people are so dramatic and they're just not the best people in the world. It's some Caligula, something, I don't know, something Caligula. And I suddenly feel a poke on my shoulder. I turn around, who is it? It's the Nat Geo guy. He's there, looking at me, he says, your number's been called, let's go. So I'm not sure quite what he's getting at. He says, you've been recalled. And leaves when he pokes me in the chest. I still don't know what he's talking about. Recalled. Fuck off. Go home. Get going. Get going. And each time he jabs me in the chest, I'm getting a new pain in my chest. And next thing I know, it's black. And all I hear is, get going, get going. I think we got his heart going. I open my eyes, I'm in the hospital. And I've got two guys standing over me, and they're working on me. They're like, you're a lucky man. I said, we had to use the paddles on you. He said, you went tachycardic. You were out. Your body, your heart skipped a beat, or two, or three. It actually stopped briefly. You're a very lucky man. So I'm laying there, and I'm rubbing my chest, and I'm going, okay, thank you. And the two of them say, all right, fine, and they start wandering off, and I hear one of them say, I swear one of them said, I need a drink. Well, it's been years later, and I think back sometimes on that night, and I think of it, sometimes it's very real, sometimes it's just a very strange dream. But part of me always remembers the idea that from all of these strange people that I met, from all of these odd little figures that were wandering around the Hope Saloon, the Hope Bar, why didn't any of them have the change that the Nat Geo guy was looking for? I mean, something tells me that some of them even did have the exact change, or the coins this guy was looking for. But no one wanted to go with him. I think maybe for some people it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And maybe they were just a little more comfortable with that idea of just sticking around with something familiar. Maybe a bar is the best place to be. Get to meet people, get to socialize. Well, all I know is that if the time comes and my number gets called again, I'll meet you over at the Hope Saloon. And if you're there before me, save me a seat.